Annihilation. I've referenced this movie so many times in old videos that are no longer on this channel. What the film is about is that everything on the planet gets tainted by evil from outer space, which just means fallen angels down here on Earth corrupting all of God's creation. Simply put, there's a lot of science fiction movies that may come to mind that are the same plot. There's another recent film, it's more recent than this. It's Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds and a bunch of other people going to outer space. I think they're in like a satellite above the Earth or something like that. And they encounter some form of evil that's alive, and they bring it on the ship, and then it kills everybody. And then Jake Gyllenhaal is the only one, spoiler alert, is the only one that survives. And he's like, no, he tries to destroy his shuttle that's to bring him back down to Earth, like those things that land in the ocean that are bullshit that probably aren't real. I don't know what you call those. But he's gonna land in the ocean with the parachute and all that stuff from space, and possibly it's a lie. But anyway, it's science fiction, it's fantasy. And he's trying to destroy it so that he won't come to Earth because he's afraid he's gonna bring this evil to Earth with him. And then he lands in the ocean, and he climbs out of his landing vessel, and he sees that the goo is all over his ship, and it's going to now contaminate and ruin the whole Earth. Also, John Carpenter's The Thing is like that. There's something that comes from outer space. They go to Antarctica, and they find it, and there's a spaceship there, and it starts taking over all the people, all the humans, and Kurt Russell, and I can't remember if it's Keith David or David Keith. I always confuse their names because they're two black guys, and one's Keith David and the other's David Keith. Well, one of those, it's the guy from They Live. So anyway, the only two guys that survive are Kurt Russell and David Keith, and they agree that none of them are going to survive because they can't let this evil taint the whole Earth. And that's John Carpenter's The Thing. It's a lot of people's favorite movie, favorite sci-fi movie. Not mine necessarily. My favorite sci-fi movie is probably Turbo Kid. But anyway, in this movie, everything on the planet is tainted by evil. So at the end of the movie, Natalie Portman is the only one that survives her crew of all women, strong, independent, smart scientist women, and they all got picked off one by one, and they face their traumas, and then they die and everything. And it's bullshit. That's like a misdirect. It's really about tainting everything on the planet with evil, and they want you to get this magic spell, because when you watch a movie, the first credit you usually see says cast, and then everything after that till the end of the credits are the people who help cast the spell. It's not just the actors and actresses who are the liars that are playing the parts. It's the animators, the guy who's holding the boom mic, everyone, food services, they're all helping cast the spell. And the spell's being cast on you. And this particular spell is that everything on the planet will be tainted and contaminated by evil. And this movie ends like a Michael Jackson's Thriller video. Remember Michael Jackson's Thriller where he dances with zombies? And then at the end of the movie, he tells the girl, "Don't worry, I'll take you home," or whatever he says. And then he turns and looks at the camera, and he's got those devil eyes. And it's like kind of funny now, it's like quaint. And he looks back and he's wearing sclera lenses that look like cat eyes. And you're like, oh no, it was all real. Michael Jackson's really evil. Well, that's how this movie ends. It ends with like I can't remember if it's Oscar Isaacs or no, it's Natalie Portman, Porpman. Natalie Portman turns to the camera and she gives you the Michael Jackson Thriller eyes. And it's funny because when you see it, it's supposed to be scary, like, oh no, everything's tainted with evil. But if you've ever seen that video from the 1980s, it just makes me think of that. It's funny to me. So there are plans to do this. MIT talked about making everything glow in the dark like Avatar style, because they said, well, we have the technology, we could make everything phosphorescent at nighttime, or however it works. And they're like, yeah, we should just do that. Wouldn't it be cool? And make it look like a Dayglow aquarium, like all vaporwave and stuff. So that's MIT talking about tainting everything on the planet. And we already have those monkeys and cats that they were made to like glow in the dark. I don't know how else to put it. They made to glow in the dark or be phosphorescent under black lights or whatever it is. And you can see photographs of these. And then those monkeys and those cats had offspring, and then the offspring continued to carry on those traits of like basically glowing in the dark. So we can do that now. So do you see that these are all just steps in tainting everything on the planet? Like when we went into lockdowns in 2020, when did this movie come out? It came out before this movie came out before 2020. It was supposed to go in the theaters and they just put it on Netflix instead. Remember in 2020 when they told us all to stay home and take a bubble bath? But then there was also the other thing that they made us all do, or they tried to make people do, and in some places they forced people to do it. Is that not, it could be speculated, which is all I'm doing here, is that it was an attempt to taint as many things on as possible and say, we're putting our mark on everything here. We're going to try and put our mark on every single person, and you have to do it. Of course, God intervened some way. And then we didn't all have to do that. Now all those people that didn't have it done are on some kind of list. It was like, don't worry, we'll get them. We'll get them, or we'll kill them, probably. So it just makes me think of movies like this where everything on the planet is tainted by evil. Now there's a lot of good people that went out first. You could call them responders to a horrible thing. And they're like, look, if you want to help or you want to work in healthcare or whatever, you have to get it done or you can't help people. So they were the first people they made to do it. All the brave and the bold people that were willing to risk themselves to go out into the world to do the right thing. Well, they did the right thing and they're like, come here, give me your arm. And then they got tainted Natalie Portman Annihilation style, basically. So this movie, I would say, is like a disclosure movie where forces of darkness and the wealthy elite whose fortunes shape the fates of nations are making so many, and they have been over the years, making so many science fiction movies. With science fiction, you might as well call it science projection. Here's where we want to lead mankind. What's your future going to be like? Teen dystopian sci-fi. That's for you, Zoomers. We're going to make a genre in the last of the bookstores, which is like, what's left for bookstores? Barnes and Nobles. They probably have a section still called teen dystopian sci-fi. I remember that section coming. I remember seeing it in Barnes and Nobles. They had teen vampire stories, which again, it's a perversion, it's a tainting. You take a man, it's a Twilight. There's 5 Twilight movies or 4 movies and 4 books or whatever. Where Bella doesn't know what she wants to do after high school. Should I be a werewolf or should I be a vampire? And then she finds out that vampires have more money, so she decides to be, you want to roll around with the dogs, or you want to be a wealthy elite and feed off the blood of everything else. So she becomes a vampire. And then they have a half satanic offspring. That's Twilight. So vampires feed off the blood of the living. They're soulless creatures. They've sold their souls, and in exchange they get immortality because they don't want to die and have to meet their maker, which is why a lot of rich people are trying to figure out everything they can to live as long as possible, because they know that they're going to have to pay up and face dad at the end of this, and they don't want to do it because they know the old man's going to literally give them hell. So that's why the elite live a long time. And also they drink our blood. So, art imitates life, all that. So that is the strategy. Something falls from heaven down to earth because it's evil, and then it tries to taint everything on the planet and ruin and corrupt and destroy. That's trying to get everybody in one way or another into a devil's deal. That's trying to create the perfect system. That's burning down everything and saying, well, now we're good. No, actually, I'll say it like this. It's the same thing as having a city planning meeting for a 15-minute smart city prison L, and then oops, there's a fire like 3 months or a month later, and then look, we have all the real estate cleared that we can build a smart city that we had the city planning for 3 months ago. Hawaii, Canada, California, and wherever else. Oh, there's lithium there? Move the weather, use the weather tech. Somebody apologized for that. It was one in Texas, and they said, look, there was a guy who made WeatherTech, and he said, look, I did not do the thing that happened in Texas. I did not do the floods in Texas. I'm not responsible for that technology. Stop sending me death threats. I created other WeatherTech technology, not the stuff that they use to do that to Texas, so they want to, because they want to, whatever they want to do there. But North Carolina was lithium, right? And the Ukraine is rich, fertile soils of the Ukraine that everybody's always talked about, like when Stalin starved like 7 million, probably more, 7 million Ukrainian peoples, so that they could just, you know, have it and do whatever they wanted over there. Now they want the lithium because it's fertile and rich in resources and stuff and all that. So, you know, it's like not just tainting everything on the planet. Well, it's like tainting everything. Everything includes the land, the resources, how everything's managed. It's globalization, the idea of the perfectly managed system, having AI do stuff instead of us having lives that are led and directed by ourselves. They're like, no, we're going to be managed by AI demons. You have AI prompted images. You know what they call the little information getters that steal all the stuff from all the data that everybody put online, like all the AI art is gotten and collated by these things called daemons, and they're the little go-getters that go out and get and collate everybody else's art that they steal, and they put it together into new things, and they're called daemons, Daemons. So you want to make a picture? No, we'll make pictures for you. You want to do this? No, you can't just do anything you want. It has to be done their way, tainting everything. You want to just live and breathe the air? No, there's a carbon tax. We've been working on that one a long time. You think the air on Mars should be free, Cohagen? You're out of your mind. Total recall. That's where you want to go on a vacation. You're like, you don't need to go on a vacation. You don't need to go anywhere. Stay home, and we'll give you a virtual vacation, and it'll be so real you won't even believe it. And then they make you into a Manchurian Candidate. You thought you were going on vacation. You thought you were learning how to be good at video games? No, we're making you into a school shooter. So in Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, which is based on Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, we have replicants, which from Blade Runner 2049 we find out that replicants are made in plastic bags. It's just people grown in plastic bags. Like, how do you say that they can clone people, and they tell you that they cloned a goat? Oh really? First they clone Dolly to sheep, and then what do they clone next? They clone a goat. And those are the two big examples they give us about cloning. I know there are other examples of cloning, but those are the two that everybody thinks of. It's Dolly the sheep, and then a goat grown in a plastic bag. Why a goat? That's their letting you know about, we want to taint everything. We're making you into goats. You know, there's two sides. Some people will be on the side with the sheep, they're getting into heaven, and then over here is the goats or whatever, and then the goats aren't getting into heaven. So they clone a sheep, then they clone a goat. You get it? So, in a plastic bag. So, in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, the replicants, the tainted people who are grown in plastic bags, who are not like us, all right? Because that's the thing, like the replicants are hunted down. That's what a Blade Runner is. Blade Runners are the guys who go hunt down replicants. And who better to hunt replicants than other replicants? So you find out that Harrison Ford is ultimately a replicant, and then he has a baby with Sean Young in Blade Runner, and so it's Decker and Rachel are both replicants, and they have a baby. And then in Blade Runner 2049, it's about their progeny. and Ryan Gosling is a replicant that hunts other replicants or whatever. You get it? So anyway, in the original story by Philip K. Dick used to hang out with the OG Silicon Valley guys and take drugs, and he got all weird, and that's why he writes all this dystopian sci-fi stuff, which I guess you could say that Philip K. Dick does write dystopian sci-fi, because it is a dystopic world view. Did you ever see A Scanner Darkly? It's a Richard Linklater film where I can't stand Richard Linklater. Even when he has like a good thing, he's like, I'll find some way to wreck it. So in A Scanner Darkly, it's starring Woody Harrelson, Winona Ryder, Keanu Reeves, and Robert Downey Jr. What a great cast. And then he animates over top of them, and it looks like shit, and it's needless. He could have just like made a movie with them. So in the future of A Scanner Darkly, everybody has to spy on 5 other people. Like every citizen has to spy on like 5 other citizens or something like that. And they're all high and paranoid, and they take drugs all the time. The Blue Lotus drug, they call it. And it's really like starring Keanu Reeves, whoever I said he's like the main star. And at the end, he winds up a junkie on like a people farm where they, and his mind is gone. And everybody's paranoid, like Philip K. Dick was in the 70s. But in the Blade Runner story, which is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, the replicants find a real spider and they kill it. And then the Decker realizes that the replicants they're not like us, they're different. They don't realize that here's something real. Why do I bring all this up? Because in the future, of Blade Runner, and the story that it comes from is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, it's a future where everything is artificial, or everything is like a replicant. Like nothing is the real thing, nothing is like a natural spider. Like in the story, I don't know how they tell it's a natural spider and not like a replicant spider or whatever. But they kill it. The replicants kill it. The androids kill the real spider, and then they think it's funny. Haha. They don't understand what a valuable thing that this singular actual spider, like a spider, was able to survive whatever they did to the whole planet where everything's artificial. And if you watch Blade Runner 2049, Ryan Gosling is eating a bowl of Jello piano keys because like nobody's eating real food. And at the beginning of the movies, Batista, the wrestler, is a bug farmer, and he's a replicant on the run. So he's farming bugs because people aren't allowed to eat meat in the future, which is one of the things that's in the Bible where somebody's asking St. Paul, how do we know when it's the end of days? And he says when people are no longer allowed to marry or eat meat. So you have these assholes saying, you will eat the bugs. And then Larry Fink's saying, you gotta force behaviors. So they're trying to force us into everything on the planet being tainted. And how do you do that? By keep making every single Disney movie hated by the audience. Hey, Disney makes movies for families. No, they make movies that hate the audience. And if it's a movie for men, then boy, they really do a number on you, right? So I'm trying to think of more movies where the whole point is that everything on the planet gets tainted by evil. Zombie apocalypse movies, all the zombie stuff. Zombie movies mean a lot of things, actually, or several specific things. But the thing I'm going to emphasize in this video is that zombie movies we all prey upon each other, and there's not enough to go around because they're taking everything away and saying there's limited resources. Really, the rich people are just saving everything for themselves, which George Romero's Land of the Dead kind of comments on that. Like, he did the original zombie movie, Night of the Living Dead, that made everybody love zombies the way that they do now, that The Walking Dead is still an ongoing soap opera. Do you know what soap opera is? Moms used to be at home because there used to be a thing in the world that existed called stay-at-home moms, and that was just what a mom was. They stayed at home and raised the kids. So they'd have daytime television to program them because it's TV programming, and some of the earliest TV programming was soap operas, and they'd sell soap and laundry detergent because that's what the women were doing, cooking and cleaning, right? Maintaining the house. So the sponsors of the operas for the stay-at-home mom operas were sponsored by companies that sold soap and laundry detergent, stuff like that. So they call them soap operas. So The Walking Dead's a soap opera about zombie apocalypse, where there's not enough resources and people just prey upon each other and kill each other and tear each other limb from limb, and they eat each other and they're cannibals and everything. Because one of the things that corrupts man is cannibalization. It makes a madness. I forget what Crutchfield-Jacobson's is the mad cow disease, where they were feeding cows parts of other cows, and then it made that, so they say, made mad cow disease. There are tribes of cannibals that they examine, and they say, oh, prions climb up these people's spines and it makes them mad. That's not even science fiction, that's just science. So we're not supposed to be cannibals. We're not supposed to eat each other. And in the Bible it says, thou shalt not consume the blood of, thou shalt not consume any living thing while its lifeblood runs through it, which means you're not supposed to eat anything while it's alive. Tell that to Japan. They eat all kinds of stuff while it's still alive. They take the heart out of a frog and eat. You're supposed to eat the still beating heart with chopsticks. It's kind of ghoulish. And you know, I noticed all over Asia they do the eating the stuff while it's still alive, which is disgusting. Which isn't necessarily cannibalism, but there's probably something else in the Bible, and I'm just not remembering it properly, where it's like you're not supposed to eat your own kind. It's probably in the Bible. But even if it isn't, we know that you're not, incest and cannibalism, it's bad for you. Okay, just leave it at that. So this movie is like projections for our future they want us to live. And you remember when the bookstores had that genre called teen dystopian sci-fi? Deja vu. Did I say that already in this video? I have a lot of outtakes for this video. So what's your future going to be like? Science fiction is saying it's going to be dystopia. It doesn't mean that it has to be. It means that's where we're shaping you towards. So hey, Generation Z, Alpha, and Beta, and beyond, we want you to know from the books you read growing up, it's going to be Hunger Games, it's going to be the Maze Runner, it's going to be the 100, it's going to be Japan's Battle Royale, it's going to be, I don't know, Prison School. That's like an anime, it's like a perverted anime. Whatever, they just want you to know that's going to be rough, hard times. Technology is going to continue to develop, but you're not getting it. We're going to use it against you to keep you in line, which is where they live in the Hunger Games. They have all this crazy technology, but the people live in a neo-feudal system. And they're not allowed to go hunting, and they can't, that's the thing about the beginning of Hunger Games. Katniss goes hunting so that they can actually eat meat and have better food, and it's against the law. And in this movie, everything's tainted and marked up by the devil. I don't know. You tell me in the comments if you want. Tell whoever reads the comments to these videos that only 12 people get to see. What other movies have that same thing where it's like, oh, everything on the planet, oh, Omega Man, Charlton Heston, there's a virus, anything where there's a contagion or a plague where everything gets tainted, and it's this like Darwinism stuff, social Darwinism stuff, where only the strongest things, they want to kill everybody that they can, and whoever survives, they want to put demons in those people. Who's the fittest? Who can survive all these horrors and be traumatized to the max and still be a functional bio unit that we can inhabit? That's, Spider-Man's not a regular guy, right? He has powers and abilities beyond a mortal man because he was bit by a spider and his blood is infected with a radioactive spider, And now he has all the abilities of Spider-Man. He does superhuman feats. So then Venom comes from outer space and finds him to be a suitable host. And then you get the black-suited Spider-Man from Infinity Wars or whatever. Not Infinity Wars. Secret Wars or whatever. Isn't that where Spider-Man gets a black suit? I can't remember anymore. But anyway, it's a form of evil that preys upon him. So it's just like demonic possession. So kill off as many people as possible. And you see where I'm going with this? Kill off as many people as possible, and whoever survives, put demons in them. It'll be easy to do. Everyone will be so traumatized by what we did to the planet. And at some point, God steps in. So just because they plan these things for so long doesn't mean they get to have their way. So pray to God. And that's my review of Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaac's Annihilation. I just want to wreck everything. Because they can't do anything themselves in summation. Like angels fell to earth. And they want to wreck everything that God made. Which is what happened as soon as they got here. Some angels left their posts on purpose to enter into human women, which they knew God wouldn't like. They knew that they were taking on a curse when they did this. And they entered into human women and had progeny. Their progeny were the Nephilim giants. So they kind of like transmuted themselves into the material world. I don't know what else to call it. There was some kind of angelic transmutation so that they could enter into the human women and bear physical progeny. Those were the Nephilim giants of old. And then they gave a lot of secrets that mankind, that God didn't want mankind to have, and those women became the first witches. So the women that had sex with the fallen angels were turned into sirens as a punishment from God. And that's a mermaid origin story in brief. And my joke was that he turned their lower halves of their bodies into fish or serpents so that you couldn't have sex with them anymore. So go look at old depictions of sirens. And maybe I'll put some at the end of this video or something just for kicks. Maybe not. But it's easy just to throw a couple slides on the end and say, here's a mermaid, here's a siren. They have like tentacle legs and stuff, like Toulons or whatever. So don't be a witch, don't do sorcery, because you're being tainted. Do you understand that? Like demonic possession is man being tainted by evil. And Jesus helped, you use Jesus' name, you do an exorcism and you cast the evil out. Look how many exorcism movies. We're going away from sci-fi now and going into Blumhouse films, which are all about like ghosts and demons and paranormal activity and The Exorcist. Blumhouse paid an exorbitant fee that wasn't worth it just to own the rights to the Exorcist movies. And then they made a new Exorcist sequel. And nobody cared because we already have all these other movies about everything getting possessed by demons. And that's the tainting of everything on the planet by evil. It's even in the Bible. Jesus says, "What is your name, demon?" And then the demon says, "My name is Legion, for we are many." Which means the guy's got a whole bunch of demons inside of him. And then Jesus cast those demons out into the swine. And then he commands the swine to drown themselves in the lake, and it's like killing two birds with one stone. I don't want people eating pork, and I'm not giving these demons a place to inhabit. Do demons inhabit animals? Why swine? Is there a connection between man and pig? Go find my video. If you haven't seen it, you might like it. It's Are Pigs Human? That may have something to do with the tainting of mankind. After the floods, mankind, God wanted to wipe the slate, and he put Noah and his family in an ark, and he flooded the earth to kill everything off. And except it didn't kill off like unclean spirits. It didn't have material embodiment. It didn't kill off stuff that was already dead, that wasn't sent to Hades or Sheol or into the abyss. So then those evil spirits, once the earth began being repopulated, those evil spirits started inhabiting stuff and causing trouble again and giving away forbidden information. And because how do you kill a fallen angel that's already dead? You can't drown them. How do you kill dead Nephilim that God said, I'm making you haunt the earth till I settle it. And those are the unclean spirits, and that everybody talks about, and ghosts, if you want to call them ghosts or whatever. I don't know. I like unclean spirits, forces of darkness, evil beings that don't have material embodiment. There's corporeal, that's us, you and me, we're alive. And then there's incorporeal, that which does not have material embodiment and yet is some kind of form of life, even if it's like, the dead spirits of Nephilim or hybrid creatures or whatever you want to believe about that. Sounds like science fiction, doesn't it? Science fiction is about projections. H.G. Welles makes it pretty transparent. H.G. Welles wrote War of the Worlds a long time ago, and he was a Fabian socialist that was kissing the ass of the elite of his day. So they're like, help us create the genre of science fiction so we can lead mankind towards where we want them to go. Other innovators in the field of science fiction are H.P. Lovecraft, which brings demons into science fiction. H.P. Lovecraft still going strong today, more prescient now than ever. Aldous Huxley with his Brave New World. And if you want to go back before even H.G. Wells, you could say probably Jules Verne with the 2,000 Leagues Under the Sea and all the weird stuff that he talked about in that book. H.G. Wells did Time Machine. So the genre of science fiction exists to mold and shape our future the way that forces of darkness and evil want to mold and shape it, and that's why the wealthy elite help develop and prop up that genre. And horror movies traumatize people, so they're cheap and easy to make. So you get horror movies and you get science fiction, and it's programming us on how to think and trying to break us down to say, well, they said it would happen in the movies and now it's happening, and guess it's just a foregone conclusion, like they did with those movies like Outbreak and Contagion and all those movies. And then the stuff happened in the real world and they're like, wow, look at what's happening in the real world. It's just like what happened in the movies. So you got to do it. And they had forcing people to stand in lines with police dogs. Their dogs are security dogs for children. No, their dogs are going to let off the leash if somebody tries to want to run away from standing in line to do what they're mandating that you have to do. Those dogs are attack dogs to to grab children by the teeth so they can't get away. That's what they're security dogs for children, you fucking liars. You damned liars. So anyway, Natalie Portman, Annihilation. I'm going to recommend that you stick around and watch the outtakes for this video, because there will be stuff in the outtakes that I don't say in what you've just listened to, and you've listened this far in. So watch the garbage you can, man, and listen to the outtakes, because you're going to get more data that will help you survive in the coming days or whatever. But I would say most importantly would be, informing you once again that you have access to the most advanced technology that's ever going to be available to us, and that's a direct line to the creator and maker of all things. These are what's called prayers to God. Pray to God. You can pray against the forces of darkness. That's why they don't want you to know that Jesus is God, and that the only begotten Son of the maker of all things is who you go to ask for help, and that it's Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the Trinity, one in essence and undivided, that this is God. They don't want you to pray and ask for help, because He will help you. And they don't want you to know about that. They don't want you to have access to the most advanced technology that already exists that will not be surpassed. There's nothing surpassing the technology of prayer to God and asking for help. And also, you can pray, as many people are doing today, pray against their evil plans, and pray that not only are their plans ruined and destroyed to do all these things that I've talked about within this video, not only can you pray against their plans, which I highly recommend, but you can also pray that they be incapacitated and unable to retaliate when they can't get their way, because our prayers to destroy their plans were heard by God, and He helped us, and He took action, and the evildoers were exposed. Everybody knew that He was God. They didn't get what they wanted, and they're like, fine, we can't get our way, then we're going to do the Samson option or some equivalent of that. oh, fine, we can't have anything, we're just going to wreck everything. We'll do what God did because we're just pale imitators of the one true creator. We'll have our own wiping out the earth. So, God does the floods and then gives Noah the rainbow. So they take the rainbow, invert it, and they do the mud floods. Or they try and ruin the planet with hydrogen bombs or whatever. Like, fine, God wiped the earth clean to start over again. Then that's what we're, as fallen angels and demons and unclean spirits and dark forces, are going to do. We'll wipe everything and we'll start off over again, and we'll hide inside the earth like we always did, even though God says that there won't be any place inside the earth for them to hide, because there won't. It's like you can't hide from God. He made everything. This is all His shit down here. None of it's. This is His holy temple. It's not even mine. It's His. So start praying. Pray to God. Praying without ceasing. What does that mean? I'm coming to think that what praying without ceasing means, if you've heard this term before, is to just make sure that you pray every day and not just get down on your knees and ask Him for shit. It means, like, do that too. Yeah, okay. But also pray for yourself, pray for other people, pray for the world, pray for salvation. Learn and read the Bible, know His Word, Old Testament, New Testament. I'm going to recommend starting, if you've never read the Bible before and this is the first time you're thinking about it, start with the New Testament, okay? That's the final covenant. It's a shorter book. The Old Testament is longer. There's a lot of lists and names. Read the New Testament first so you get what's the most important stuff when Jesus was here, because I do feel like it's super important. Then when you go back and read the Old Testament, it gives you a context for what happened when Jesus was here. Jesus set everything up, pre-incarnate Jesus, God set everything up in the Old Testament, and those stories in the Old Testament are set up so that you will know who the Messiah is when He shows up, and then Jesus shows up. So if you read the New Testament first, it gives you a context for reading the Old Testament that will make sense to you. Oh, wait a minute, this is just another example of Christ. And that's a thing that reoccurs, like in the Old Testament through all the stories, is like, oh, this is just reminding us of the Messiah that's to come, and then He shows up. So, yeah, I don't know how, I just watch the outtakes now. Because there's going to be some, it's funny too, because you can see me get frustrated. It's kind of funny even to me, if I can laugh about my frustration, where there's just something that wasn't, because there's forces of darkness, there was something that wasn't letting me, I just couldn't get the episode right, and I'm like, okay, start over, and I did that like 5 or 6 times. So there's going to be some interesting outtakes with different information, different data than you got previously. So maybe you will like that too. So if you want more, stick around. Here comes Garbage Can Man to inform you that there's more to come. Natalie Portman's Annihilation. So if you only have one streaming service, it's probably Netflix, right? So, or Disney. Isn't Disney a monopoly? Don't we have to like break apart Disney now? Disney bought Hulu because nobody was watching Disney Plus, so they can merge Disney Plus with Hulu. That's a monopoly. Disney has to be forced to dismantle itself, I think. You can pray about it, but also you can probably take physical, and just make petitions or say, hey, Disney's a monopoly. They have to give it up. They own too many things. They own it all, right? They have everything except they don't own DC Comics. What else? What don't they have besides DC Comics and the Looney Tunes? Nobody cares about Bugs Bunny anymore anyway. That shit's dead. But, you know what I mean? And I guess nobody cares about the superhero stuff anymore. And superhero stuff is just veneration of the old gods. And what are the old gods? Fallen angels. So, let's try to taint everything on the planet. That's the strategy. What's the plans for world domination in summation? They just want to taint everything on the planet with evil. God put His mark on everything, which means that He put goodness in all of us, so there is a chance for our redemption. That's why He tries so hard to save people. Like the most evil people have potential to be redeemed if they're willing to give up everything that they were given by evil, to have all their power and authority down here on this earthly plane by the Prince of the Air. So they have to give everything up, and then maybe there's a chance for their salvation. They could become a martyred saint or something like this. But that's, that's the devil's deal that they're getting us to make, and we don't know it in so many different ways by doing. So we're made in the image and likeness of God. So there's good in us. So they want to taint everything. They can't make anything of their own. They can only take God's creation and mess with it and pervert it and taint it. So that's what this movie's all about, and that's what their strategy is all about. You want to know what the strategy of evil is? They just want to taint everything because they can't make anything good. Like, God makes things to be good, and then they get corrupted and tainted. It's a fallen world. That's all they can do. They can just wreck shit. They just get more sophisticated ways to taint with stuff. And it's all stuff they did before. They talk about like ancient genetic manipulations and animal-human hybrids and chimeras and all the stuff they say were the myths and legends of the past, were stuff that may very well have actually been our reality. And, now they want to do that shit again. And they're really working hard on it, and they're spending all the money, time, and effort. And they're lying to you, telling you can put, hey, you can live forever. We'll put you on a thumb drive, or whatever. We'll put you in an organoid, synthoid brain, or whatever. And it's lies. You'll be dead. And they just have like a reasonable facsimile of how other people may have remembered you, and it's not really you. And if there are people who are evil, like when we die, we're in God's hands. But we know from the Bible and the Apocrypha, if you want to include that there are beings that are, it is in the Bible. When the Nephilim are dead, he says you're not getting into heaven and you're not going to hell. You stay here and you walk the earth and suffer. So that's demonic possession. They're looking to inhabit us. So unclean spirits, dark forces don't have material embodiment, so they want to latch on to us. And then that's the ghost in the machine. But also, I could say different video, but I'm going into a different video now. But they could want the ghost in the machine to be us. Like, they want to trap our souls somewhere. That's where all this drug taking and blurring, that's where Netflix and pills comes from. That's where the Matrix comes from, wanting to blur the boundaries between corporeal and incorporeal and getting us stuck in there. Sleep paralysis, astral travel. I can't get into that. That'd be a whole other episode. I should, though. I should just keep this going. But anyway, that's the strategy, I believe. That it's really the only thing they can do. If you believe in dark forces and that you know who God is and it's Jesus and all that stuff, then that's all they really can do is taint everything. They just want to mark up everything on God's creation and put their stamp on it. They mess with wheat being the staff of life, as it was called. Everybody, they say man can't live on bread alone, but there's a lot of people who are getting by on like pretty much just bread and whatever else they could get. For like, look at India, like a lot of people are living on pretty much like just bread alone. So they taint wheat. And now there's a section in the supermarket called gluten intolerance section, where you can have alternatives to gluten, because they messed with the wheat and they made it too gluteny and people are allergic to it. And they did the same thing with milk. They mess with the cows so that there's so that they people can't drink milk anymore. Now you have goat milk, or almond milk, or soy milk, and all this stuff. That's another way of altering us, feminizing us by the estrogenic compounds in plastics, in government subsidized corn, wheat, and soy. They've messed with these things. They're not cheap to grow the way they grow them, but they're subsidized by the government, so it's cheap. They don't need to put soy as a filler and everything. They know what soy does to us. They want to make us like that. They want to make us like Asia, micro peepees. Oh, they have the soy? Let's mess with the soy. And they did. They mess with the soy. And they want everyone to be like the docile Japanese people and just do whatever the fuck they're told. Or, and who repressed Japan, who repressed the Koreans. Everybody talk Korea this and Korea that. Oh, we love K-pop, and they're telling young kids like Korea. They're horribly, horribly repressed by who? The Japs. And they're also getting us to change ourselves into something else, because like the hot spot in the world to go for plastic surgery is Korea, because the government kind of sponsored that you should get plastic surgery. So it's a common thing for success in business. What does that have to do with God or how he made us? I mean, I understand somebody wanting a cleft palate fixed or whatever, deformities. Okay, go ahead, do that to the children. But, you know, this aesthetic cosmetic surgery, it smacks of being tainted by evil. So people all over the world are going to get cheap Korean plastic surgery or whatever. They're doing all kinds of shit in Turkey too. You want to be 2 inches taller? Well, break your legs and go over to Turkey. They'll do that over there to you. So it's not necessary, right? I think they would like, you know, like, so you see what I mean? It's just tainting us. It's just tainting the way that we're thinking, and all this plastic surgery. And look at how weird people get when they get the plastic surgery. Even people that have a lot of money to get the good plastic surgery wind up looking like freaks, right? Not all of them, but a lot of them. And it's messing with the creation. It's just another way to be tainted. So annihilation, it means just everything annihilated. We're going to annihilate the whole planet. We're going to mess with everything. Even the blades of grass won't just be blades of grass. They'll be this, you know, Roundup ready, poisoned, whatever you want to believe. You know, Walmart and Target want to be the only stores. Monsanto wants to grow all the food that'll be in those stores, and the only jobs will be working for the corporation. And they want to head us into post-consumer society. And that's us. We're the consumer. Post-us. That's post-humanism. That's what they want to. Transhumanism, a term coined by Julian Huxley. They want us to cross over from being human into something else. So all this trans stuff that they talk about is corrupting people who are emotionally fragile, traumatized people, and they want to traumatize everybody with this stuff and say it's not enough to be human anymore. You can be whatever you want. Here's the litter box in the classroom, and you can cross over. You can be whatever you want. Just don't be what you are. Be something else. That's tainting everything. You don't have to be a man or a woman. You can be trans, that it's people getting tattoos all over their body of scales and splitting their tongues out of a forked tongue. That's extreme body modification stuff. Even silly things like being kitty cat boy and all this stuff, and the furries. It's the idea that they could, there's actually a surgery where I could be more like a wolf. They'll mess with my genetics. They start out with hormone replacement therapy, where they're giving too much of, like, I think men and women both have some degree of estrogens and testosterone, but mess with the levels, and you're changing a person and messing them up for life. So they, you know what I mean? Like, you're just messing up people, and that's annihilation. It's tainting everything on the planet and getting as many people in as many different ways as possible to go along with it, or saying you can't just survive. You need some kind of enhancements. You need robot legs, or, you know, trying to get people to go along with making their devil's deal in exchange for a better life in so many different ways. People are injecting a tattoo ink into their eyes so that their eyes will be permanently whatever color the white parts of their eyes are. They're dyeing their eyes with tattoo ink, and it's making some people go blind. That's disgusting. Putting all the shit in their faces, the cernunnos piercing, the septum piercing. I call it the cernunnos piercing. Go look at the ancient depictions of the god Cernunnos, which is just a demon, a fallen angel, whatever. Same, more or less. Forces of darkness. And look at Cernunnos, he's holding the septum ring in one hand with the little balls that you screw on. He's holding the septum ring in one hand and the serpent in the other, and he's got horns or antlers and goat legs. What's that? That's a demon. It's also an animal-human hybrid. You want to be a goat man? You want to be a sexy satyr? You want to be a sensuous centaur? You want to be part horseman? I know what part you want to be the horse, you pervert. So anyway, yeah, that's annihilation. It's tainting everything on the planet with evil, just like they did in Blade Runner. And I think in the movie of Blade Runner, there's a woman that has a snake, or they're talking about snakes, and they're like, is it a real snake? Are you real? They talk to each other. Are you real? Or are you everything's synthetic? Wow, you're like a real person. You're like a natural born person. You weren't like grown in a plastic bag. You weren't hatched in the hatcheries by Lenina. That's Brave New World reference. As if you haven't heard it a million times from me. Probably not, but I'll get there. So yeah, you know, this is the tainting of everything. When Decker and Rachel have a baby, that's two replicants that are able to conceive an offspring. That's like way tainted. You're taking God's original creation as a jumping off point, which is the only thing that evil can do. Taking God's creation as a jumping off point, because they can't create, they can only pervert, contort, and distort rather. And that's what this is all about. Like, so like attack hammer over the head, I think you get it, right? Or maybe you knew this already from the start, but you just liked hearing it again. There you go. Here's some more bias confirmation, right? To confirm your biases. You know it's true. So you better start praying to God, because it's helping all of us. Please do. Please pray for us. Who? Anybody. Just us, like the collective we of the planet. That's a socialist, communist, Marxist I'm ever going to get. You know, the collective we. All the people on the planet whose souls, what could be saved? That's you and me, bub. Wolverine said that. So, you say bub all the time. Remember that? You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, and what was Wolverine? He's a guy that was messed with. They put adamantium, they gave him a metal bones and healing factor. And he's one of the X-Men. He's not a man anymore. He's crossed over. He's transcended being human into something else. Yes, Wolverine's a transhumanist, and so are all the X-Men. And those powers and abilities are probably corruption by demons and satanic spirits, because in the Old Testament and New Testament there was people that were possessed of demons, and it was accepted by society. Paul and Silas got taken to court because St. Paul cast a demon out of a servant girl, and it cost the rich family money, because that servant girl with the demon was good at fortune telling for people. So when St. Paul cast the demon out, that wealthy family lost a revenue stream and made their servant girl that they owned like useless. So they took him to court, and Paul and Silas lost the case, and they got beaten with rods as punishment, because the court decided that it was a bad thing to cast out the demon. Do you understand? That's what the world used to be like. We're going back to that again. People didn't believe in demons and stuff for a while, so they worked on us. You know, the masses didn't believe in demons and exorcism. I got kicked out of church for trying to get exorcism for somebody, because the pastor didn't believe it. Now that church is falling apart because the demons got a hold of that guy, and he's also probably pissing off God. So, yep, everything old is new again. So the demons were hiding for a while, trying to break us down and corrupt us. And look at all the perverted shit we're doing now, because the internet. The internet is evil, and yet it's the way that we let each other know that the days are evil. So watch my outtakes and pray to God. Amen to that. It's Planet Daddy issue down here. Call your Father who art in heaven. And don't forget to say his name. His name is Jesus. Amen to that.
Duh! Here are the outtakes! Duh!
There's old videos that I've done, and sometimes I have to do the videos over again. So we're going to talk about Annihilation. Natalie Portman and Oscar Who-Cares-Ix in Annihilation. Isn't Oscar Isaac, isn't he so good? No. Isn't Natalie Portman, isn't she great? No. Isn't her mom a member of one of those 3-letter organizations? So it's not about their performances because, well, who cares? They're a bunch of liars. There was an acquaintance of mine, and it was the first time I ever heard of actors being called liars. It's true. Like, there's really no denying it. They lie. They pretend to be somebody else, and then lots of people have crushes on them, and it's one of my pet peeves. It's more than a pet peeve. It's like a pack of hemorrhoids, or so I imagine. I don't really have hemorrhoids. It's like having a pack of hemorrhoids that flares up every now and then when I'm reminded of them, right? That's how I feel about celebrity crushes. And they make my asshole bleed. I don't have hemorrhoids, but I know people do, and they want to tell you about them. Why do I want to hear about your bloody asshole? So, I used to bring this movie up all the time. I used to always use it as an example, but those videos are no longer on my YouTube channel. So what this movie is about is the destruction of, spoiler alert, it's about the destruction of everything on the planet. And that, I'm gonna do this again. I did this video before. I used to always have a copy of Annihilation nearby so that I could put it in front of the camera and bring it out on videos. Do some of you subscribers remember how I was always mentioning Natalie Portman with a P-O-R-P, Portman. Natalie Portman's Annihilation, and it's got Isaac Who-Cares-Ix in it. Aren't they great? Not really. She's like cardboard. I don't think Natalie Portman's so great. Why do you like her? Because her mom is from a 3-letter organization. I think it was CIA. And then there's Oscar Isaacs. Didn't you see Ex Machina? Yeah, I hated it. It's a shit movie. It's no good. Yeah, but didn't Joe Rogan? I don't care. It's terrible. But Annihilation is what I want to talk about. Spoiler alert. This movie is about the tainting of everything on the planet with evil. So it's cool sci-fi movie. It's not really about that. It's really just like, I don't know, disclosure or a magic spell cast over you about how everything on the planet is being tainted and ruined. And by the end of the movie, you're like, oh, everything's gonna be ruined by the planet. It's like that movie, what's it called? It's like that movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds, where they're up above the earth, and when they come back down to earth, everything on the earth gets tainted with the black goo. And Ryan Reynolds gets killed. You're like, oh wow, he's like, they killed him right away. And it was like, yeah, that's like a switcheroo. You weren't expecting it, and then he's dead already. And it doesn't matter. And then Jake Gyllenhaal crashes to Earth, and possibly in the lander or whatever, it lands in the ocean, which is a lie, probably. I don't know, how many outtakes am I gonna have for this? Take my wrist brace off. I'm here to talk about our Annihilation. This film, spoiler alert up front, is about tainting every single thing on the planet with evil. It's just the devil wants to put his mark on everything, and the evil comes from outer space. But when they're talking about evil coming from outer space, it's really talking about stuff falling out of heaven down into earth, okay? That's the follower of Jesus' perspective on the matter. So this movie is about evil falling to earth from space. There's a whole bunch of movies like this, like the one where Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds and a couple other people go up into space, and then they all die off, and then Jake Gyllenhaal falls to earth, and the black goo is already on his, BS thing that lands in the ocean, which isn't a real thing. Why is this so hard to do? I've talked about this movie before. I used to always talk about Natalie Portman, Porpmans, Natalie Portman's apostrophe S, Annihilation. And it's the movie where everything on the earth is tainted by evil, which just equates to me to mean stuff falls out of the sky, that's space. What falls out of the sky? Angels. Then fallen angels come down to earth and they want to taint everything with their mark, because the devil can only make counterfeits. The forces of darkness, let's just call them forces of darkness, which are fallen angels, and the things that they made by screwing all of creation and tainting it with evil. They want to do that again. This movie is like, let's just say, a satanic disclosure film, which isn't all disclosure films satanic. It's always about some kind of evil thing. They lie and they tell you in a movie. Some movies are magic spells. The performers in the movie are the cast. They are the casters of the spell. But it's not just the actors and actresses in the film. It's everyone in the credits are the people helping you cast the spell. So when a movie ends, a lot of times the first thing they say the first thing that will be read is cast. And then everything after that, including a small nation of digital animators and all that stuff, they're all helping cast the spell of the thing that, rich people put lots of money into, whispered by demons, to make movies like Annihilation, where they want to taint everything on the planet with evil. And that's how this movie ends. At the end of the movie, Natalie Portman gets together, it's a fantasy film, gets together with Oscar Isaacs. Isn't he gay? Probably not. I don't know. I think they all have to do gay stuff, so it makes you think that they're all gay because they've all been sodomized and that's how they get to be really famous. Or they had to blow somebody. Yeah, I think that's how Hollywood, how do you want to be a big star? You better make like a coffee table or catch a brick, or both. Probably you're gonna have to do both. Oh, well, that was the first time. If you wanted to be a star, first you had to make like a coffee table or catch a brick. Now you did one, now you gotta do the other. And then you have to get HPV or whatever, so that we're all in the same club. Don't worry, we know the cures to all the diseases. So anyway, in this movie, everything in the planet gets tainted by evil. It's just the devil putting his mark on everything. He can't make anything of his own. Let's just say the devil. I said forces of darkness before, didn't I? Oh, damn it. I don't know. I'm sorry. There's going to be outtakes. I've talked about this movie before. It's a good example of what I think the strategy for world domination includes. The forces of darkness, Satana, whatever you want to call it, they just want to put their mark on everything. All movies about science fiction where something evil comes from outer space and falls to Earth, always about the same thing. It's just tainting the creation, God's creation, tainting it with evil and marking it up, wiping boogers on all of creation and saying, that's mine. So in this movie, everything gets tainted with evil. Did you ever see Venom? Venom is an old Spider-Man villain from the 1980s, I think. And he is a puddle of black goo that comes from outer space. And then he infects Spider-Man because Spider-Man's throwing up the devil's curse to shoot webs. He's marking up everything. He's marking his territory with spider jizz, or whatever you want to believe. Throwing up the devil's curse, which is how Spider-Man shoots his webs. He does that. I'm not doing that to you. That's why I kind of like it's half-hearted. Well, it's completely without, like, I don't fuck. Annihilation. I've talked about this movie many times before in videos that are no longer on this channel. I always use it as an example of what the strategy for world domination is. They want to mark up everything on the planet with evil. Like, we want to taint everything on the planet. So here's the plot to a lot of different science fiction movies. Something evil from space comes down to Earth and then destroys, taints, ruins everything on the planet. That's what this movie's about. They want you to think it's about, you know, messages of feminism and the struggles that women have to deal with. But what's underneath it, how the movie ends, is that you find out that everything on the planet gets tainted by evil, which probably is a real world strategy. Philip K. Dick used to hang out with the Silicon Valley guys, like the OG Silicon Valley guys, and they'd take drugs and expand their minds and torment them, ruin their souls and everything. Annihilation, starring Natalie Portman and Oscar Who Caresix. Aren't they great? Probably not really. The plot of this movie is to taint every single thing. Fucking hate. Why? Annihilation. I've talked about this film many times. I use it as a reference point. This is a strategy for the Earth. They want to contaminate everything on the planet. And let's just say forces of darkness, wealthy elite whose fortune shaped the fates of nations. Both. They want to mark up everything on the planet and taint it with their mark, which would be the corruption of God's creation. They don't want anything left out. It's like George Bush's 1,000 points of light thing. No one left out, no child left behind. One education worldwide. It's the Microsoft education, like McDonald's. Well, there's a lot of science fiction movies where something comes from space, which is like heaven. Something comes from space and falls down to Earth, and then it messes everything up. Did you ever see the Venom movie? Venom is the old Spider-Man villain, and you know Spider-Man because he's the guy that shoots webs by throwing up gang signs. I don't want to do the gang signs, but that's how he shoots webs. So Spider-Man goes around jizzing up everything and throwing up the devil's curse, which is that hand gesture that rock and roll guys use, and they go, yeah, well, but I'm not doing it. But you can, you know, these two fingers are supposed to be standing up, and then they go, yeah, Aussie, or whatever. So that's Spider-Man throwing up the devil's curse and jizzing up everything with his spider web. It's a metaphor for teenagers and jizz, I think. Anyway, there's my summation of Spider-Man, but let's talk about Annihilation. Let me see if I can think up a bunch of movies that use the same theme of where we're going to taint everything on the planet with evil. Isn't that how the third Venom movie's supposed to end? Like it's an alien invasion where everything, instead of getting covered with Spider-Man's white jizz, it gets covered with black goo, like being taken over with by evil. Isn't that, there's like a Kenneth Grant book called The Green Door, or is it a C.S. Lewis thing that he wrote about how you get taken over by the darkness and the blackness or whatever? You make your deal with the devil and then you get consumed with darkness. It's a reoccurring theme. Like there's a Billie Eilish video. This is a mean little boy, don't you think? So anyway, Billie Eilish, which means Billy Goat, because the Eilish is like a goat. So it's Billy Goat. And her parents are famous record producers. And there's a video where she gets covered with the black goo and then she has fallen angel wings. All the pop stars do their fallen angel routine. But this is about Natalie Portman's Annihilation. It's supposed to be like, you know, like a feminist thing where it's these strong women and they go into a sci-fi situation and get picked off one by one till only Natalie Portman survives. And then she goes back to her lover, Oscar Isaacs, her husband. It's a fantasy movie. And she goes back to Oscar Isaacs, because he's gay, right? I mean, I know he has family. I don't know. I think all these people are gay because, you know, that's how you get to be famous. You got to you have to make like a coffee table. You can blow somebody. Eventually you wind up doing both. Or you can do both at the same time. You can be really famous. I think that's how it works. And then you sell your soul to the devil. So what they want to do is corrupt everything on the planet. And it makes me think of Philip K. Dick, which I'm pre-prepared for. Philip K. Dick he's sci-fi writer, and he used to hang out with all the Silicon Valley guys. And he wrote, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And that's Blade Runner, okay? That's Ridley Scott's Blade Runner is based on Philip K. Dick, Silicon Valley drug taker guy who's hanging out with the OG Silicon Valley guys, getting high. And he would write these visionary sci-fi works like A Scanner Darkly, where in the future everybody's high and paranoid all the time, and it's surveillance state, and everybody's spy, like every citizen has to spy on like 5 other people anonymously. And that movie's starring Keanu Reeves, Woody Harrelson, Winona Ryder, and Iron Man Robert Downey Jr., son of Morton Downey Jr. And anyway, in Blade Runner, there's a scene, or rather, there's a scene where they kill a spider, and like, that was a real spider. Well, that comes from it's like this thing that's kind of glossed over in the movie. But in the Philip K. Dick story, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? In the future, everything's artificial. Like, nothing's real. Everything's been contaminated, or it's fake, or it's a replicant, which is, there's always lab interference in every single thing that's made, even like animals. Like, I think in the Blade Runner movie, there's a woman that's a stripper or a prostitute. She has a snake, and the snake's not like a synthetic snake. So it means like it wasn't naturally made. It has the interference, like everything's been tainted with. And so in Blade Runner, there's like an actual real spider, and they're like, wait a minute, I think that spider is actually a real spider. How they can tell, I don't know. But in the future, everything's like fake or tainted in Blade Runner. So the replicants see this spider, and they're like, yeah. And they don't understand what a wonder it is that there's something of the natural world that's still natural that manages to exist. And they squash the spider and laugh, and they don't get it. Because they're replicants, because they were grown in plastic bags by Jared Leto or whatever. And that's an original Blade Runner from the 1980s when Jared Leto was a child. So I'm referencing also in this Blade Runner 2049. So I think that is our future. I mean, I even remember seeing plans that MIT had where they said, well, we can taint everything with phosphorescence and make it like Avatar, where stuff will glow in the dark. They said they could make crops phosphorescent. They could put phosphorescence in them. And they've done this with monkeys and cats, and they've made phosphorescent monkeys that then have offspring, and their offspring are phosphorescent. And so they have like day-glow cats, or rather they have like cats that will glow under a black light, and they have monkeys that will glow under a black light. And MIT said we could do that all over the planet. So that's part of the thinking. This is from MIT. This is part of the thing, and you can go see images. I don't think I'm going to include them in this video, but you can see images of those neon cats and monkeys. And maybe they did it with pigs too, but the only thing that sticks in my mind is the cats and the monkeys that have progeny, and then their offspring still have that same genetic alteration or whatever it is. So Spider-Man is infected by venom, and that's the black goo infecting venom, infecting Spider-Man. Come on, man.